5 books that changed my life. Hi everyone, Dan here from The Geek Physique, back for another video. Before we get into things, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss anything from us. So the first book I want to talk about today is 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. You've probably heard of Jordan Peterson by now, and obviously there's 12 rules in the book. I'm going to focus on 2 key rules that really struck a chord with me. One is tell the truth or at least don't lie. It's so easy to tell a white lie, but is it really going to get you what is best for you? And one thing Jordan says, and it really struck a chord with me, is how do you know what's best for you? We think we know what's best for us, but the truth will lead you down the right path. I truly believe that. And so it will help you get what you want in your career, in your relationships, in your life, especially if you're someone who skews more agreeable on the scale and you can't confront people, you can't really say how you feel. Telling the truth is going to force you to do that. And I love the other part of this rule, at least don't lie. I think what that's saying is, okay, maybe some things don't need to be said. Maybe they're just going to be hurtful and nothing's going to come of them. But if you're going to say something, just make sure you're not going to lie, right? So there's 2 really crucial parts there, but this is really going to help you become the man you want to be. It's really going to help you find where to go in life because the truth will genuinely set you free. The next rule that really struck a chord with me was compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not someone else today. I think this is super relevant in today's climate with social media. I know this is really obvious and a lot of people talk about this, but it's so easy to literally open up an app and see how your life is in comparison to another and think, oh, they're living their best life, and you're just seeing the highlights of their life. Everyone has crap to deal with day to day. Everyone goes through good times and bad times. So it's really not that useful to do that. And also, if they've been doing if they've been doing a thing that you want to do a lot longer than you have, then of course they're going to be a lot further on. And obviously talent does come into this, but comparing yourself to who you were yesterday, a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, is in relation to your goals, is really going to give you an idea if you're moving forward or not. And if you just focus on that, rather than spending time scrolling, seeing how inferior you are, you can make such a big leap in relation to your goals. And you might then become that person that other people compare themselves to. And I'm not saying you do it for that, but what I'm saying is that's really going to get you to where you want to be. Not that is the measuring stick you want to use, not looking at others. And it really plays out in when we coach people. Like, one thing I hear a lot from guys is I'm actually afraid to step in the gym because I'm so weak. I haven't been in a gym in so long. I'm afraid about what people are going to think. I'm afraid about not knowing what to do. And they think that the gym is this big, scary place. And especially I see this with people in martial arts gyms, they think everyone in there is going to be super violent or something like that. And it's just not the case. And when you go into those gyms, whether it's a standard gym or a martial arts gym, there's so many people at a similar, on a similar point of their journey to where you are. They might just be getting started, or they might be in week 2. And then there's going to be people that have been there for 5-10 years. There's going to be a range of people. And most people are happy to help. They're happy to share what worked for them, what didn't work for them. And a lot of people that have been going to the gym for a long time, and I include myself in this, when you see someone be consistent for 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, it really inspires you to keep pushing on your own, because it's like, yes, you are getting better. You are becoming a better version than you were yesterday, a week ago. Maybe a week ago or a month ago, you didn't even care about your health, and now you do. Like, that's a big win. And it's really important to celebrate your wins in relation to your own self-growth rather than judging them by what other people have achieved. And there's so many other really good rules in the book. It talks about something else. It talks about, which really struck a chord with me, is hierarchies. a lot of people think hierarchies are due to capitalism, and it's just not true. And Jordan Peterson goes through numerous examples in the book of how hierarchies play out in all of life, in nature, right? And there's that power law where all of the biggest stars have all of the planets, all of the biggest cities have all of the people, all of the biggest rivers have all of the water. It plays out in so many areas of your life. So how could it be just due to, capitalism? And I don't know where you sit on the political spectrum, but I don't want to really get into that. It's just about understanding, okay, where am I at in this given hierarchy, and how does that affect my life? And it's really informative to understand just where you're at. And if you're the right size fish in the right pond, I'll say that one more time. If you're the right sized fish in the right pond, like pick a game that you can at least play at average, rather than picking something that you're going to be, really, really bad at. And obviously everyone's a beginner at some stage, but what I mean is, if after 5-10 years, and I know this kind of goes a little bit against the compare yourself to who you were yesterday rule a little bit in some ways, but if you've been doing something for 5-10 years and you're still well below average, maybe you shouldn't make it your whole life's mission. You can still do it for fun, right? But there's a really good, I talk about this in other videos, and this kind of ties back to the hierarchy point. It's really good to find something that you're passionate about, but also somewhat competent at, right? That you don't, or you at least see yourself getting better at, right? You see yourself progressing with it. And it really, when you find where those things intersect, you can determine the right hierarchies to be a part of. Okay, the next book that was super helpful for me was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Another person that I'm sure you've heard of by now. He's an absolute beast of a human. He has done some amazing things, both physically and mentally. It really teaches you about just resilience, and it helps you understand that actually you have so much more in you than you realize and give yourself credit for. One of the key challenges and chapters from the book, each chapter gives you a challenge at the end, and one of the key ones for me, I'm going to talk about 3, is the 40%. When you think you're done, you're only at 40% of your max capacity. And really think about that. Stop and think about that, guys. When you've had your hardest week, you think you've given it your all, potentially you're only about 40%. Imagine if you gave 50 or 60%, how much more you could achieve, let alone 100, right? So it really helps you understand that actually we have so much more we could give. And I include myself in all of these things, guys. I find this so helpful, and it really has helped me push in times where I'm struggling. Next is the accountability mirror. And all of these are super practical, guys. Like every time you read a chapter of Can't Hurt Me and you see the challenge, you can go away and do the challenge, and it's something that is so practical and can help you. So each chapter you're getting better before you've even finished the book. And the accountability mirror is just about holding yourself accountable and taking ownership of your goals and really being honest with yourself. Are you spending a good amount of quantity of time or quality of time on those goals? And accountability is something that everyone needs, right? You can get it from a mentor or coach, and I have mentors and coaches, I always have. But at the end of the day, you still need to put in the work. So having an accountability mirror, literally, or just a time where you reflect on your goals and really where you're at with things. If you do that regularly, you'll be holding yourself accountable. And it goes back to the 12 rules for life. If you're telling the truth to yourself and holding yourself accountable, you can really judge if you're on the right track or not with things. The last one is uncommon amongst uncommon. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It is so true. And it's played out in my life at so many points in my life. And there's been times where I thought, okay, I've outgrown this situation. I need to move on now. And it's not about discounting friends or something like that, but especially in your career or in hobbies or in skills you want to learn or in your life mission, You want to surround yourself with people who have been there and done that, right? And you want to find a way to bring something to that table. And this isn't about comparing yourself to them. It's more about being on that level and then rising above it, and then rising and then moving on to another game, and rising above that and moving on to another game. And it's basically about continuing to move forward for the rest of your life. And it's a never ending journey, but in a really good way, to say there's always another way you can become better. There's always people that you can learn from. There's always people that you could serve in some way. And that's what really struck a chord with me about that. And it was quite hard for me to read about, because it really helps you evaluate, am I just surrounding myself with people who are not where I want to be to make myself feel better about where my situation? And when you then are really honest with yourself, and you find people who are, further along on a given domain, on a given skill or in career or whatever, you quickly realize, and you're like, okay, I now have a new idea of where I want to get to, where once I get to that goal, and then make a new goal. The next book that really struck a chord with me was Atomic Habits. This will teach you how to learn any good habit and how to break any bad habit. Literally anything you can think of. And one thing it really helped me understand was, and this gets a bit into the specifics fitness-wise, but obviously calories in versus calories out works. It's science. You can't deny that. It's what all diets are based on. But for some people, and this is the analogy I use all the time, is some people, even if they have been doing calories in versus calories out, they can't just eat one packet of crisps. They end up eating the whole multi-pack every time. So for some people, in some cases, it does make a difference to make those things invisible, which is one part of breaking bad habits. Make them invisible. Stop making it so hard on yourself, and stop buying the crisps. Instead, treat yourself with it every now and then, potentially, or buy a single packet rather than the multi-pack, so then you only have a single packet to eat, right? Make the bad things invisible, make the good stuff obvious. That's one really good piece I took from the book. Some other things that were super helpful is habit cues. So everything that we do usually has a cue that makes us do it. So one thing I'm guilty of, and I know a lot of people are, is first thing when you wake up, you check your phone. And that's the cue, is you waking up, you then check your phone. So what you want to think about is, okay, let me associate that cue with something different. Maybe instead of checking my phone once I wake up, I go brush my teeth, right? Something simple, okay? But it breaks maybe a habit that you don't want to keep doing. When you realize the cue, what it's associated with, you can then start to associate that thing with another more beneficial habit. Something else it talks about doing in the book, you can go through the exercise. It actually gives you templates and things that you can find on the Atomic, through the book on the author's website. And actually the author, I should say the name's James Clear. If you probably already have heard of James Clear, but that's who the book is written by. And on his website, you can see all the templates to do a lot of this stuff. But one of the exercises which can be super helpful, you can even just do it in your own head, is work out all the things you do day to day, week to week, which are good for you or bad for you. And this is largely subjective. Some things can be general, right? Like if you are drinking too often, then you might be an alcoholic, right? And that's obviously not positive for anyone. But it breaks it down in a way of thinking about your goals. So what's important to you in your life, and are your day-to-day habits bringing you closer to those goals or moving you further away? Are they making those goals easier, or are they making them harder? And this really brings to light how you're spending your time. One thing that I have been guilty of, and I'm sure we all are, is I get distracted by my phone. It's like I'm wired to get that little dopamine hit that really doesn't feel that great and only feels good for a brief second, and then you kind of feel a sense of guilt or something after. It's not helpful. So what I do when I work is I hide my phone. I know it seems really simple and silly, but if it's in my eye shot, it's like I just go to automatically check it and pick it up. If it's not in my eye shot, I'm like, where is it? And sometimes I think like, okay, it's behind my book stack here, but it could be anywhere. It could be in my bedroom, whatever, but I just don't go and pick it up, right? It breaks that bad habit. Some other things you could think about from the book, which are super helpful, is stacking habits. So let's say you drive to work every day. That's a habit, right? You need to get to work. One thing you can do, and this ties back to making it obvious and stacking the habits, is on the way to work, find a gym if there is one and go to that gym. You're making it obvious and easy for yourself because it's on the way to do something you already do every day. And what you can do is say, right, once I've gone to the gym, I can then start my day of work with a clear mind and dedicate myself fully to my work, rather than doing it the other way around, which is what a lot of people usually do. They don't want to wake up early, they get too stressed from work, too tired, and then they don't end up going to the gym anyway. So flip it, stack those habits in a positive way, right? And the last thing I wanted to touch on from Atomic Habits is reward systems. I've given this example in other videos, but one thing I used to do at uni is I would chill with the guys like at the end of the day, right? And I used to say to myself, as long as I get 10 minutes a day of my end of year project done, I can then go and chill with the guys. And you might think 10 minutes, Dan, is that all? How did you get anything done? But think about that. And I used to do it Monday to Friday. Weekends I was a bit more relaxed, but think about that every week. That's at least 50 minutes a week of work done. I got my project done in no time. I was ahead of the curve of pretty much all of the deadlines, apart from the first one, but that's another story. But once I got into that flow after the first deadline, it really helped me. And often, I honestly did more than 10 minutes. But the reward system was chilling with the guys. And so one thing you can do is if you already do something day to day or week to week that you enjoy, do something that actually you know you have to do, you don't really feel like doing it, you know it's good for you in the long term, you know it's good towards your goals, but you really just don't feel like it. Do that thing first and then reward yourself with the positive thing. So a good example of this could be you've gone to the gym consistently for 4 weeks, book yourself a massage. Then you've gone to the gym for 4 weeks again, maybe buy yourself a Fitbit, right? Give yourself little rewards. Or it could be you've saved money for 3 months, then you can buy yourself something nice, right? And it can be really whatever you want to be. Again, it ties back to your goals, but you want the reward systems to be positive for your goals, not negative, right? So, and this is, again, it may be that you reward yourself in a negative way for doing something and you want to flip the whole thing, right? So do the hard work up front, then give you something that's positive, that's not going to derail you from the hard work you've done, essentially. Okay, the fourth book and fifth book. So the fourth one, they're both audiobooks, but the fourth one is No More Mr. Nice Guy. There are, you can actually buy the physical books, but I ended up listening to them instead. No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover is an amazing book for recovering nice guys. And I know I at least used to fit into that category, especially in my teenage years. I skewed more on the side of agreeable. I really didn't confront the issues in my life in the best way. I really didn't I didn't really see my needs as important as I should be. As I should have done. And I'm going to go through the things that it kind of teaches you and it will help you with. So it will stop you expecting your girlfriend to figure out what you want. I know that seems like a bit weird, but one thing that nice guys do, and this is what the book talks about, is they have transactional relationships. And so they'll do all of these different things for their girlfriend just so that their girlfriend will be intimate with them. And their girlfriend doesn't even realize, they just think, oh, you're doing good things that you should do. Right? They don't realize that you're doing it for that. So instead, you just ask, you negotiate that, right? You make a move, right? However you want to do it in a non-weird way, which isn't too robotic, I suppose. But the point here is putting your needs, being honest about your needs rather than being shady about them and trying to get what you want without actually being honest about it. And another thing it teaches you about is being emotionally available, right? You may have heard this from girls in the past if you've been in relationships and you're like, what do you even mean by that? And it really breaks it down in the book in a practical way to say, when you are talking with girls and your girlfriend or your partner, oftentimes they might just want you to listen. They don't want you to solve their problems. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time, because as guys, our prerogative, our natural instinct for the most part is to solve problems, right? So we just think if they come to us with their day-to-day goings on, we think, oh, these are problems I need to solve. And then when you go to solve the problems, they feel like you're not really listening to them or hearing them. And one really cool thing you can do is ask your partner, your girlfriend, would you like me to help you solve this problem, or do you just want me to kind of listen to you? Word it in any way that you feel comfortable, but let them know that essentially, do you want me to just be here for you right now, or do you want me to help you solve this problem? And it's going to be really helpful for you, because often a lot of times they'll probably just want you to sit there and listen. And that's a whole skill on its own you can start to develop that I know is something I'm still working on myself. But then when they want you to solve their problems, they'll be all the more grateful for you doing that, because on the one hand, you listen to them, you're emotionally available, as they would put it, but then you're even more available because you're then helping them solve their problems when they actually need you to. It helps you to start saying no. Again, this kind of ties back to my first point, understanding your needs and giving from your overflow. Something the book talks about is it's really hard to give to people when you're already empty, and it can actually make you build up resentment. I see this a lot with clients actually who have families, and it sounds bad to say, and people often don't want to first admit it, but then when you dig a bit deeper into what they're struggling with, they say things like, I'm always there for my family, I do this, I do that, I work really hard, I provide, and I don't feel like my needs are being met. I feel like I'm kind of left on the back burner. And I truly believe you should put yourself first, give from your overflow, solve the problems in your own life, okay? And then help your family, your wider community, your friends. And when you do that, you come from a place of fulfillment rather than like scarcity and resentment. You come from a place of fulfillment and abundance because you already have your needs met. You already are in a good place. And you can really come from a place of genuine help rather than maybe you're trying to help someone when actually you've got some things you need to deal with in your own life first. Okay, and it's really important. It kind of ties into my next point, set boundaries. Again, it goes back to your needs and saying no. If again your partner or someone in your family or someone at work wants you to do something and you're that guy or that person who just always says yes and you can't say no to people, and again your needs are left last, you need to start saying no and start setting boundaries. And it's going to feel foreign at first, but when you start setting boundaries, people actually start to respect you a lot more than you maybe have ever experienced in your life. And it goes with the gym, right? When you start to become the person that goes to the gym every morning, people just think of you as that person. If you go into a relationship and you already go to the gym every morning, they're not going to expect you to be somewhere in the morning when that's already booked. That's what I do. Non-negotiable, right? When you set those boundaries, and think about this, guys, we have boundaries in our life given to us in a lot of ways, and people just accept them, like work. People just accept work. Oh yeah, you have to go into work. Okay, that's fine. But whenever it's anything to do with you personally, like your own personal health, people are like, oh, I'm sure you could miss the gym or this or that. No, health is wealth. Health supersedes everything. If you don't have your health, you can't really have anything else. I truly believe that. So setting boundaries around your own personal health, mental and physical, is extremely important to be the best man you can be rather than just some harmless guy, right? And last but not least, this kind of ties everything in together. It just helps you get what you want out of life and your relationship. So check out No More Mr. Nice Guy. Get the written version, the readable version, or you can listen on the audiobook. The last book was another audiobook I've listened to, which is 12 More Rules for Life. So this is the sequel to the first book I talked about. And there's, honestly, when I was making this list, I remember this really striking a chord with me, but there wasn't any rules in particular that I remembered from reading the book. I just remember it being more relatable than the first. And what I mean by that is, the first is, it looks to mythology and science and things like that to underpin the rules and to help you understand them. Whereas in this book, Jordan Peterson talks a lot about things that have happened in his life in the last few years and over the course of his life, and ties them back to the rules in a way that's, I feel, more relatable to your own lived experience, if that makes sense. And so I did look through the rules again, and I picked out some that, when I thought about them, have genuinely helped me in my own life. And the first one is sustain your romance. This is so key, guys. A lot of people, I won't name and shame or pick a given gender, whether it's guys or girls, or to a particular type of person that does this, but I know, and I've come across in my own experience, a lot of people that just expect romance to happen. They expect, intimacy to just happen. And when you've got so many meaningful things going on in your life, especially when you go and have a family and have kids, which I want to have one day, and he talks about this a lot in the book, that your romance, your intimacy basically falls to bottom of the list. But it's not important. It's actually very important for the longevity of your relationship and for, for you to be happy and fulfilled in that relationship. And so you have to make it a priority. And that sometimes means scheduling it. That sometimes means making sure you have a date, you have blocked out time each week for your partner where you are fully dedicated to them. You're not on your phone, you're not doing something else. It's quality time that you can both spend to talk about what's going on in your lives and to then be intimate. And that will sustain not just your romance and the intimacy that both of you require, but it will sustain your relationship. Next rule, which was super helpful, is stay grateful. There's a phrase I've talked about with people we coach, which is I get to rather than I have to, right? I get to rather than I have to. And when I've talked about this in some posts, people have, rinsed me for this and thought, I get to go to the toilet, ha ha ha, right? And it's easy to do that. Like, do that if you want, but that's really not the point of the rule. The point of the rule is to be grateful for where you're at, because it could be a lot worse. It could always be a lot worse, and it probably will get worse at certain points in your life. So, and I'm as guilty of this as the next person. It's very easy to think today's problems or this week's problems are that important and, are so bad and going to hold you back and all of this, but really things aren't that bad, guys, and they could be a lot worse, and you should be super grateful for where you're at in life. The last rule that was really helpful for me is take responsibility. This is gonna set you free, honestly. Take ownership for your problems. Even if you don't think they're your fault, look at yourself and ask yourself, what can you do to take responsibility and ownership for that thing? Even if you feel like it's not your responsibility to do so, it will help you in the long term. It will help you get what you want, and it's gonna help you get to your goals. And this is what a lot of these things are all about, is helping you get to your goals, become the man you want to be, and to move forward in life and to improve. So I'm going to recap the books and then we'll finish up, guys. So the first book was 12 Rules for Life. Second was by Jordan Peterson. The second was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. The third was Atomic Habits. The fourth was No More Mr. Nice Guy. And the fifth was 12 More Rules for Life. And just go through the authors one more time. So that's Jordan Peterson for the Rules books, David Goggins for Can't Hurt Me, James Clear for Atomic Habits, and Dr. Robert Glover for No More Mr. Nice Guy. A lot of these people have podcasts that are worth watching if you don't want to actually read the books or listen, but that will at least give you an insight into what they're all about and what their books are about. I hope this video was helpful. Make sure you click here or here to watch another video from us, and I'll see you in the next one.